This week, some of the biggest companies in the stock market reported its earnings, and honestly, it is, again, surprising. Every single time, these companies that are spending loads of money on AI is still surpassing what people project them to be, even though they're raising projections on the money they're going to be making back on investing on these AIs. They keep raising their expectations and they keep beating them, they keep beating them, and they keep beating them. In this video, I'm going to be going over the market as a whole, what's going on as a whole in the AI build out, what companies are benefiting right now, what companies are to benefit. I'm going to be going over the earnings that happened this week. We had massive earnings on all of these companies pretty much all week. We had a lot of chip earnings Tuesday, and then we also had Microsoft, Meta, SK Hynix report earnings on Wednesday, and then we had Apple and Amazon report earnings today, which is the time of this recording. And we have some earnings tomorrow as well. So this is a massive earnings week. And I know on this channel, usually I cover a lot of stocks and stuff, or I cover a lot of trading and stuff like that, but I am gonna cover a lot more stocks here coming into the rest of the year here. And I have some images to show you guys because not a lot of people are kind of newer and they don't really understand of what's actually going on inside the market right now and how much of a great investing opportunity this is. This is a stupidly good investing opportunity in my eyes. So let me explain exactly what's kind of going on right now, okay? What is the AI build out? Why are these companies making money? Why is it an arms race? Some of you guys, maybe if you're not really even into stocks at all, you might not even understand there's an arms race right now. If you're into this, it's right in front of everyone's eyes, but most people don't really realize kind of what's going on right now. So let me kind of explain it in a couple images, okay? I have 3 images to show you guys. We can get on some charts. I can talk about what specific companies are kind of doing what. And at the end, I will explain to you guys what companies I'm actually holding and stuff like that. So this is the AI arms race that's happening right now, okay? Where it started was AI, right? AI was formed, and chatbots, coding, search, robotics, advertising, healthcare, okay? More AI started getting used more and more and more, okay? And as they started getting used more and more and more, it caused more computing demand, okay? There's more computing demand for these AI models, right? So training powerful models and serving millions of users, that is a hard task to do, right? So computing, that's where your kind of next layer of stocks start to form. That is where, you know, kind of companies making actual computing power and stuff like that, you can do some heavy research into, right? So that is kind of what causes that, right? More AI usage leads to more computing demand. This leads to more infrastructure required, okay? So when you have more computing demand, you have to have GPUs, data centers, electricity, cooling, networking, storage, all of this stuff to power the computing demand that is raising since there's more AI usage. Now after this is what causes essentially the corporate arms race, okay? The biggest companies in the world, they are the ones spending the money. Your average Joe spending money on AI isn't gonna change anything. It's these companies all realizing that there has been a new pocket in the industry since I'd say roughly 4 years ago or so, very early 4 years ago. This year was mainly the start of it. But they realized, okay, this AI, artificial intelligence, is coming around, right? And it started all with ChatGPT, right? I'm sure all of you guys remember when ChatGPT first kind of came out. And you guys will see how advanced it became just in the last couple of years. So ChatGPT came out, right? Then Gemini came out, right? Then you have Claude Code by Anthropic. And you have Copilot that's used by companies from Microsoft. And you have all of these AIs that are coming online, right? And that's just chat box AIs, right? Then you can get into the whole scheme of editing AIs, and you can get into a massive scheme of AIs. I know Meta even uses, you know, AI on all of their Facebook ads now. If you run Meta ads and stuff like that, it is going, you know, insane, and everyone's trying to expand as much as they possibly can. Here's the thing, right? All these companies that have been around, right, for 20 some years, they are not stupid. They understand where things are going, and they understand, okay, let's just say Amazon doesn't spend money on AI, but they let all the other hyperscalers spend money on AI, they understand that it's bringing them more clients, right? It's making it easy on their customers, and they're making more money. Or if they're not spending any money on AI to, get AI into their services and into their provided platforms, they're not going to make any money, and they're going to be behind of all these other companies. Same thing with Meta. Meta understands if it does the same thing, it's kind of screwed. Google understands the same thing. Microsoft understands the same thing. All these companies understand the same thing. And they understand that they spend some money on AI. Okay, people are using it. They're making more money, et cetera, et cetera. Now they have to compete with all these, right? These four have been the biggest competitors for a while now. They all kind of have their real specific niche, you could say, but they were mainly competitors. And from this, money started flowing into AI because all of them started competing with each other and putting as much money into AI as they could, right? So this is where the arms race comes from. This is what causes the AI build out essentially to begin with. They're set to spend $750 billion by the end of 2026 on AI alone, just these companies right here. So this causes massive capital spending. Okay, billions flow into companies supplying the infrastructure. So literally billions with a B, not millions, billions of dollars. Almost, you got to think of that. That's almost $1 trillion flowing into AI. Companies are benefiting from that. So to think that there's not opportunities to invest into the right companies is a complete lie. There is opportunities, and there has been this entire year. So again, some people can compare this to, oh, it's just the dot-com bubble, it's going to burst, this and that. Here's the thing, this can't quite just burst and go to zero, because during the dot-com bubble, you had people hyping up everything that had the word .com at the end of it and was just buying the stock out of hopium. No one was making money. People were just excited the internet came around and started buying all these .com stocks. None of it really made sense. This is completely different. This is a industry where money is flowing into it. Money is genuinely flowing into it. Billions of dollars are flowing into these, and there is a shortage. There's a shortage on data centers. There's a shortage on memory chips. There is a genuine shortage of these things because people are buying them up so fast. These hyperscalers are buying them up so fast that demand can't keep up with it. Supply can't keep up with it, I mean. And during the dot-com bubble, you had none of that. So I'm not saying, someday, oh, there's not going to be a crash, this and that. No, you're going to have retracements. You're going to have recessions. Oils has been, it's been overextended for a while now, and historically every time you get that, you get a recession. There will be retracements, of course, right? But this is not something, guys, that's just gonna, at a snap of a finger, all of it's just gonna die out. This is something that is gonna be spending for the next 2 to 3 years easily before you get some massive halt on spending on AI. So when you look at where the money is flowing, I wanted to explain this real quick here to you guys. This is kind of the order that it's flowing to. So I want you guys to understand of how this is building out. So number one, we have AI users and customers, right? Consumers, business, government, software companies, they pay for AI products and services. I pay for AI products and services. You probably pay for AI products and services. Your company that you might be working for is probably paying for AI services. Everyone's paying for AI nowadays, okay? So they pay for cloud and AI platforms, right? So you're probably paying for ChatGPT, which is from Microsoft. You're probably paying for Gemini, which is from Google. Anthropic isn't listed on here, but you might be paying, for Claude Code. Meta has a bunch of, you might be running Meta ads that use, AI and stuff like that. All of this stuff is you're paying money usually to them, right? And they are the ones spending billions to better each and every single AI so that you choose them over another, right? So this leads to AI cloud and data center operations, CoreWeave, Nebius, and specialized GPU cloud providers, right? So these are the ones that turn infrastructure into rentable AI computing capacity for these companies right here. They are paying these companies, right, for rentable AI computing capacity, okay? Now, then hardware networking, NVIDIA, AMD, Broadcom, all of this stuff, they're the ones providing GPUs, memory networking, and key equipment. These are the ones that are actually manufacturing the equipment that's, you know, like in my PC right now. And, you know, when you're doing that, this leads to physical infrastructure, right? Data center builders, cooling, electrical equipment, utilities, power, because when you have all these data centers to store all of these memory, another thing that's not even on here is memory chips, right? Memory chips, stuff like SK Hynix, SanDisk, Micron, stuff like that. Not SanDisk, just Micron and SK Hynix, stuff like that. You need data centers to store this memory. If you guys remember ChatGPT, you know, 3 years ago, you were probably talking to it and it would do a task and that was pretty much it. But nowadays, when you talk to it, it will remember something that you've said months ago. It will remember that. How do you think it remembers that? Memory chips. Okay? Where's memory chips even stored at? Like, what does that even come from? It comes from data centers. They have data centers, right? How do you power these data centers? That leads to power. You know, you have to have power plants. You have to have electricity. You have to have power, right? I know in the state of Ohio, they're building a data center right now that's going to require more power just to build that data center than the entire state using power. And that project is to come on, I believe, next year. It's insane. So this is how kind of the flow is happening. So now that you understand kind of what is happening, let's look at these stocks here. Let's kind of understand what is going on here. We can look at the S&P 500. We can look at something like NVIDIA. They're all going to give you kind of broadly the same thing. So what has been happening is since we'll look at S&P 500. Since we had this dip right here back in March. Now, this was when we first invaded Iran. We started bombing Iran, right? Fear headlines come on. This is the time to buy. Load up here, and you're fine. Same thing here, except this really was not a deep retracement at all. You know, this retracement might not be over. You know, I'm not saying it's completely over. Now we're going to go to all-time highs. We just had a pretty deep retracement here. This isn't even that deep of a retracement, but why did this retrace? This retraced purely from fear again. Things started, well, we were getting really overextended, right? Consolidating. We had loads of earnings coming up. People started kind of halting to wait and see what these earnings was going to bring. Are these companies making money from AI? And what ended up happening was, right, we started to bomb Iran again. Fear headlines drive it absolutely down, and then bang, in a span of one day, all these big companies report positive earnings because, again, just because we're bombing Iran has nothing to do with AI build-out. It's just fear in the markets. Everyone's selling because, oh, we're going to go to World War III randomly. It doesn't make any sense. The contracts are still in place. This money needs to be spent regardless. Nothing has changed in the thesis besides fear. And when nothing changes in the thesis and the only reason things are going down is because of fear, that is the time that you should be accumulating. So, you know, the S&P 500 alone, we have a, 2% drop in the S&P 500 in a day, which is a pretty big drop. And then it reverses and comes back up the next day. And that's kind of the environment you're in, especially with Trump being in office and how quick this AI stuff kind of flips around. But the main thing is Trump being in office and constantly flipping the script on Iran. We're bombing Iran. We're not bombing Iran. There's peace talks, this and that. And that's exactly what happened, right? We reached peace talks, right? We stopped bombing and now we're starting to talk with Iran. So everything's pumping again. And it just happened in one single day. So that's the S&P 500, not really much of a dip, right? The S&P 500 is not going to take a hit like these other stocks are, right? The S&P 500 is built up of, 500 companies. It's not going to be taking a casual 10-15% dip like most of these companies are. And the S&P 500 is great to invest in, stuff like that. I just think there's a lot more opportunity in this AI build-out than to be in something, essentially, I should say, it's safe in this type of environment. I'm fine with being risk on personally. So if we look around, we'll look at something like NVIDIA, right? If you look at NVIDIA, from 2026, this same amount of time, right? Massive run up, and we get that retracement. And things have been cooling off. NVIDIA has been on sale. A lot of these stocks have been on sale that have different spots in the AI race, right? We can look at Micron that has pumped, I think, 2,600%. It's like stupid. It's pumped an absurd percentage. And you can see all these companies have been on sale. And this is honestly a great investing opportunity. And you can see this retracement here that all of these companies have been taken out. All of these companies are essentially in a specific different spot, but you can see roughly we have been on the decline from this AI build out pretty heavily. Now, Meta has been chopping around for a while here, but if we look at something like Nebius, this is really clean. You can see that really clean retracement. You can look at something like Marvell as well, really clean retracement. You could look at something like Bloom Energy as well, really clean retracement. All of these companies, really clean retracements, okay? So if we go back here and we kind of study why, right, this retracement even came into place, why did this buying opportunity come into place? Hyperscalers are getting punished in this environment, okay? Hyperscalers, again, these names, they're the ones spending the money, and people are investing into the companies that the money is flowing to. So people will invest into these companies and get mad when they're not going up, but that's not where the money's flowing. They're the ones outputting the money into the AI companies, right? They're not the ones essentially making the money right now. They're the ones spending the money. So big cloud names were the spenders, right? Not the immediate winners. So investors focus on CapEx, margins, and free cash flow pressure instead of long-term AI payoff. So CapEx is the money that they're spending, and free cash flow is, you know, the money that's coming in, and they just have, it's just free cash flow. And for example, if you look at Google, right? Google reported earnings, and they were great earnings. They beat earnings, but they went negative free cash flow just to spend more money on AI, which is the first thing that's the first time they've ever done that in history. So if they're willing to dig themselves in a hole of their free cash flow just to spend more money on AI, it's a pretty interesting thing to think about there. So that is why you see when they announce earnings, even though they beat earnings, people care about the cash flow, and there's no cash flow coming in there. That is why we dropped from earnings. We have dropped 6% on Google, which is a very established company, you know, that's been here for a very long time. So that's a pretty big dip. But you can see something like Microsoft, where they're in the same boat, big retracement, right? Kind of getting punished for spending money on AI. They came out, their earnings was great, and they came out and they said, hey, we're not stopping spending money on AI by any means, right? We're still spending, you know, I think they have like 200 billion left to spend, or something around there. We're still spending that money. We're just not raising it, right? We're, you know, the money coming in that's going, you know, that's more free cash flow, all that stuff. That is what the market is rewarding right now, and that is why you see it pump. It actually had this is the biggest day in history for Microsoft today, which is actually insane. 15% just on Microsoft. That is insane. That is absolutely crazy. So big day for Microsoft there. And yeah, that's kind of what's going on right now. So just so you guys kind of get an idea for hyperscalers. Now, Meta actually missed earnings. Their earnings was a little bit less than projected. That's why you've seen it kind of fall. But that is what the market is rewarding. People don't care right now about, you know, what Google's going to make, you know, 5 years from now. They care about right now, are they making money from spending the AI? That is what people care about. As a long-term investor, right, you should see that as an opportunity. It just depends on your time horizon. So if we go and look, that's kind of what's going on there, right? Google showed the fear Alphabet increased AI spending so aggressively that free cash flow went negative, which the market punished, right? So the issue is not AI demand, it was near-term spending pressure. That's what people don't like to see. So disciplined spenders were rewarded. Companies saying, we are still spending heavily, but not above prior guidance, which is exactly what Microsoft was doing, were viewed better. Prior AI spending is now helping produce real revenue and stronger results. So that is why, again, companies like that is benefiting a little bit more. So what started as a normal retracement, like I showed you guys, turned into panic really quickly, because anything on Twitter can spread just like wildfire. Micron or any of these stocks that are really high beta, they're really high volatility. You know, they casually will just pump 10%, dump 10% in a day, 15, 20% sometimes. As soon as those things have like 2 or 3 red days, that's where you see the fear everywhere. It's over, it's over, it's over, it's over. chip names and AI leaders sold off harder than the U.S. and Iran conflict headlines caused an extra fear, which drove essentially the leg down even further. So that is kind of what happened there, and that is why, again, you see these companies, something like Iran, you see these companies, right, casual retracement, and all this fear starts coming in because it's just a big dip that people haven't really handled yet. These companies have ran, since the start of 2026, a lot of these companies have ran really, really hard. This is the dip from the previous Iran war. A lot of these companies have ran, 118%. We start to dip a little bit. People claim, oh my gosh, it's over, it's over, it's over. And then you see another big retracement because we start bombing Iran again. So that's kind of the max fear headlines kind of coming into fruition there. So number 5 here is the thesis never broke, right? So with all of these headlines, right, it started as normal retracement, fear headlines, geopolitical dip, this and that, and it just ends up being a higher low. That's just a buying opportunity. And then when we're back up to, the new highs, now everyone's like, oh, it's going to the moon again, it's going to the moon again. Now's the time to buy. It's the complete opposite. The AI arms race did not stop. Nothing stopped on a little retracement we've had for the last, month and a half. The money's still being spent regardless. Infrastructure is still being built, and strong earnings plus peak talk optimism flipped sentiment back to green like a switch. The money's still flowing into GPUs, memory chips, networking infrastructure, AI cloud, and data centers, and stuff like that. So, yeah, that's pretty much what I want to talk about. I want to talk about how I think this is a very great buying opportunity for you guys. And yeah, a lot of these companies, you have to look into specifically of what's going on with them. But again, a lot of these companies are in very great positions. NVIDIA, very, very cheap price for NVIDIA here. It's just a standard high or low here for NVIDIA. And again, a lot of these companies, guys, you're catching companies that are very well-established companies. Their gross profit is just through the roof. And you're catching them on a very big retracement. You're catching these companies on a 16% retracement. Again, Microsoft was stupidly cheap, down 36% in retracements, and we pumped just in one day, 16%. And it is still down though, 18-20% discount. You can still catch these companies 18-20% discount on sale. A lot of these companies, and then if you get into the more riskier ones like Micron and stuff like that, you have these big retracements that we have dumped, 40-41% retracements. And then when we get a next higher leg, you're going to pump 100% easily double your money, and people's going to start aping in and buying up here. And then a retracement hits and it's going to wreck your account. So I think, again, SK Hynix actually was just listed here on the market. SK Hynix and Micron is 2 memory chips. Okay, so these are memory chips. Micron is in a very unique position where Microsoft and Meta and a lot of these companies are paying for chips now, locking in contracts for the next 5 years where they're literally paying them because Micron cannot even produce and make enough chips, memory chips, right now to even give out to these guys. So Microsoft and Google and all these companies, they're locking in discounted prices right now. So these companies are in a very nice area to gain. Again, you just got to be careful because, you have to realize, okay, we have pumped a substantial amount, since this last dip right here, I think it's like 1,200%. You have to be careful here, right? You have to be careful, but you also need to understand that, hey, okay, this is where the money's flowing, right? You're going to have retracements, but this is where the money's flowing. So you have to kind of see what you're okay with risk, okay? These are companies like, I'll show you guys actually, I believe I had Nebius listed. Yeah, so AI cloud and data center operations, okay? So these are going to be the ones that's making GPUs specifically for like something that like Microsoft wants or something like Google wants and stuff like that. Nebius is a great company as well. This is on a very cheap discount. Again, all these companies, 37% discount right here on this company. AMD all these companies, big retracement that you have seen, and everything just flipped in a day with these big earnings coming out, and stuff like that. You can see Marvell as well. Marvell is on a 50% discount. Right now it's still on a 39% discount here as of after hours. All of these companies, guys, very great discounts. They all play a different role in the AI build out, and for the next, how many of years. You go to the energy sector. CoreWeave is going to be just like Nebius. It's a cloud infrastructure stock, and this is on a very big discount as well. This is on a 43% discount at the time of recording this. Another thing is energy. Energy is something that's very, very overlooked. When you're building all these data centers, you need energy to power the data centers. It's a bottleneck that people cannot figure out right now. So energy is on a very cheap discount, 37%. Bloom Energy, very nice trending here, very nice retracement. We got onto a discount of 55%, and now it's on a discount of 36%, still 35% still. Still a very good discounted company. And yeah, if you just look at, if I can find the bars pattern here, yeah, if you look at all these retracements, guys, you get these same exact things over and over and over again. You can kind of see how quickly things can play out again, over and over and over again as the money's flowing into these stocks. I think we're in a very pivotal time where the money's going to be flowing into AI for at least this next year or two. And I think if you're not kind of capitalizing on it, personally, I think you're really missing out. I think you're at more of a risk of not holding a lot of these companies than you are to not hold them. You're at more of a risk. What I was trying to say is you're at more of a risk to not hold these companies than you would be to hold these companies, in my personal opinion, because you know, when you're looking at Meta, Microsoft, Google, when you can buy these mega cap companies at a discount, still at a discount, especially down here. I know earnings kind of screwed over Microsoft. It pumped a lot, but something like Meta's at a very cheap discounted price. You can buy something at Meta, like Meta, at a 31% discount. A 31% sale, you can buy something like Meta stock at. 31%. 31% discount. You can buy one of the top 3 leading hyperscaler companies in the United States at a 37% discount. Are you kidding me? I think there's a lot of opportunity here for these companies, and it depends on your risk parameters. I just want to make this video to kind of go over the AI build out and the stocks that are in play here, and stuff like that. And I think there's a lot of opportunity that even if you're not, directly into stocks and you trade and stuff like that, and you watch this far, I think it's honestly important for you guys to start looking into stocks, and kind of keeping them as your side. These are, when you get into a high beta stocks that you really believe in and stuff like that, and there's actual reasons behind these stocks and stuff like that, and you have that as an investment portfolio and you trade and stuff like that, you're going to learn a lot about the market, and you can make a lot of money doing this as well. I highly recommend you kind of look into this stuff. And yeah, that's kind of what I'm seeing for the AI build out right now. That's kind of where the money's flowing to. And what I'm looking for right now, honestly, is we can go lower. We can get a deeper retracement, right? I'm not saying this is it. We can definitely, go lower if we want to. But what I'm personally looking for is if the sentiment stays bullish as it is right now. It all went from everything's, going to zero just yesterday, and then now it's going to be like everything's going to the moon. It'll flip literally in a day. If that sentiment stays there, if Trump kind of holds off on Iran and talks just continue for the next month and stuff like that, I believe that we can honestly have another extension leg on a lot of these stocks. And I think you can catch a easily, 30-40% move in the coming 2 months, if things play out that way. If we get a cheaper or a deeper retracement, cool. You know, if you have dry powder that's available to load up on these stocks as they go down, you can, because the money's going to be spent regardless. The money's literally in contracts to be spent for the next 2 or 3 years. They're in contracts to be spent. To say that all this is just kind of fake, the AI build out's just fake, it is genuinely factually false. It's literally false. There's money in contracts to be spent on these companies that is generating revenue, record-breaking revenue on every single company. I think we're in a very unique time, a very unique investing opportunity right now, and I think that you can really capitalize on this. So that's pretty much it for this video. I just kind of want to go over the build out, what's kind of going on right now. If you guys are interested in what specific stocks I'm holding, because all these stocks are not the same on this AI build out, guys. I'm not gonna lie. If you are buying a company just because it's cheap, you can get wrecked. I know a lot of people are like, oh, Nike stock's cheap, this and that, but it's an athletic company, bro. Just because a stock is cheap and it's trading at a low PE does not mean it's just the best stock ever. These AI stocks, they're all really in a position to gain, but a lot of them are in a much better position to gain than others. You check out SanDisk, for example, absolutely insane. Since August, we went from $43 a share up to $2,300 a share. It's just absolutely ridiculous. And these companies are in a really big retracement. And if you're new, right, and you might be seeing this as like, oh, well, like, why would I buy right here, right? This company has shot up 2,300%, this and that. I'm not saying you have to buy these companies that are up 2,300%. I'm just saying there's companies that money's flowing into regardless. The money has to be spent. These companies are set in stone to, you know, be collecting this money and build out on the AI infrastructure, and they are cheap. And, you know, not all these stocks are in the best position, and they're not all certainly in the same position either. So you really have to do your due diligence, I can't speak, and really research these companies for yourself, understand your risk tolerance and stuff like that. I personally have put in a stupid amount of research into all of these companies. My portfolio is labeled out in the same area as some professional investors that navigated the dot-com bubble and have been navigating this AI bubble since the start. I'm kind of in the same realm as them, as holding the same types of stocks. I'm holding a lot of stocks that Trump's holding as well, and you guys know how Trump likes to tweet his stocks and stuff like that. And these companies that I'm holding is not really talked about at all. So they're really good companies. If you guys are interested in specifically what I'm holding, I'll put a link in my bio. I show you guys exactly what companies I'm holding for $5 a month. I literally show you every single company that I'm holding. I have full-on videos on why I'm holding every single company. All of the revenue generated, the EBITDA, the forward PE on all these companies, why they're great projections. And anytime I update it, you guys will actually get an email, literally anytime I update my portfolio. So it's pretty much a live portfolio tracking of me navigating this AI infrastructure for the next year. For the next year or two on some of these companies I have a outlook on, and you know, when I kind of pivot and move into different stocks, stuff like that, you guys will actually get live alerts. So if you guys are completely new to like investing and stuff like that, and you're trying to see like what I see in companies and what I look for, all of that stuff's pretty much in there. And if you look at earnings, again, guys, we've had big earnings this week, and that is why, you know, the market has been flipped in a matter of a day. You know, you can see all these green numbers over here in a matter of a day. That is how fast the narrative can switch. And like I said, this retracement, you know, maybe we get another low. I'm not saying this is the end of the retracement. No one knows. I'm just saying that still, even where these prices are on a lot of these companies, guys, these are on very good sales. These are on very good sales. A lot of these companies are on very nice retracements, and they're very cheap for the position that they're in the AI build out, that the money is in contracts for them to be spent on, and they have not been spent yet. They're literally set to make this money through contracts, and you know, not everyone has caught up to the whole AI narrative yet. You know, you hear these stocks like Intel and stuff like that. Those are the ones everyone knows about. We get it. But when it comes down to looking deeper at a lot of these stocks, there are stocks that are in very great positions to succeed, in my opinion, in the next year or two. Even, you know, things can happen in the next couple of months. So that's what I'm looking at. Again, if you guys are interested in specifically what I'm holding, why I'm holding, and live updates on my personal portfolio, I'll put that link in that description. But yeah, I just wanted to make this video, kind of give you guys an understanding of what's going on with the AI build out, in case you're kind of completely new, you don't really realize any of this is going on right in front of your eyes, and you're focused on, you know, trading, you know, the futures markets and stuff like that, you don't really, you know, look at stocks and what's going on as a whole, and how to actually invest and create, you know, solid liquid cash from these companies that are literally set to generate cash in the next, you know, year or two, and the build out that's literally going into it. Again, we're in a very unique situation. I truly believe that. I believe that we're in a very unique situation. I think if you guys really take action on a lot of these stocks, I think that you can really benefit. So that's really why I wanted to make this video. I wanted to kind of give this to you guys as something if you don't really know what's going on right now. So yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please comment if you guys want to see more videos like this. If you want to see more videos of what's going on in the actual like market, how to invest and stuff like that, and to make money with these companies, what to look for and stuff like that, let me know. I know I cover a lot of like 5-minute trading and like, you know, kind of like talking videos and yapping sessions and stuff like that. But this is something that I've actually been doing since, again, I was like 15 years old. I've always like loved looking into companies and seeing this type of stuff. I've been doing this for a pretty long time now. I'm still very young. I'm only 19, but I have been doing this longer than any other, you know, profession I've personally been doing. So if this is something you guys want to see more of, let me know, and I'll make more videos like this. So that's pretty much it for this video, boys. And yeah, thank you for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one.